What is mindful consumption? Online, we see a lot of buzz about underconsumption, overconsumption, sustainability, and on this channel, we like to talk about mindful consumption, a happy medium where we are enjoying our lives and still being conscious and intentional about what we consume. Mindful consumption is consuming intentionally and in a way that actually helps you achieve a purpose in your life. Meaning every item, everything you buy, even what you eat, how you spend your time, we're all conscious about how we use those things. Not in a very obsessive way, but in a way where we're actually respecting ourselves, our energy, our time, the time we spend making our money, the time we spend doing our craft, the time we spend with our friends, our hobbies. All of these minutes, all of this effort adds up, and we want to use it sparingly. We want to use it wisely, and that's exactly what mindful consumption is. So there's a lot of feedback that this is quite a restrictive and limiting lifestyle where people feel very overwhelmed to be constantly observing and setting limits, if you will, to the ways that they want to live and enjoy their lives. I agree, a restrictive way is not a way to live, especially it can be so triggering to so many people who come from a background or a history where limitation really defined a lot of aspects of their lives. And that's why mindful consumption is an umbrella term where you can create a more specific definition. Again, all of us have a different subjective view of what mindfulness is. We have different jobs, we live in different countries, we live different lives, we have different circumstances. So what might be mindful to me and helpful in my life might not be helpful to yours. So you have to create something or some sort of regiment or structure that allows you to sleep peacefully at night. This isn't for me, but this is for you. For example, if someone lives in an urban city, it wouldn't make sense for them to spend on gas for a car because they don't have a car. They're able to take public transportation. But for me, someone who lives in a suburban city, I need to have a car. So I'm not going to restrict or limit my access to the needs of my car just for the sake of fitting someone else's template. The reason that I like to share this and I've become so vocal about it on my channel in the last year is because I'm sick of buyer's remorse and this feeling of always scraping after the last dime and just feeling guilty for the things that you buy, feeling guilty for enjoying yourself and not living in a way that actually feels comfortable and is aligning with like the goals that I want to have for myself. I feel like I used to buy a lot of things because it made me feel excited. It gave me this temporary form of like enjoyment and dopamine. It only really hit me in like 2023 when I moved out of my very first apartment. I felt like I had accumulated so much stuff in such a short amount of time in such a small space. I remember cleaning my closet out with my roommate and it was just bags and bags of clothes and enjoying yourself, and identity is all important, but I just didn't like the mental and emotional baggage that came with that act. Through accumulating clothes, it's more to wash, you need to buy more storage, you become paralyzed in front of the closet because it's too many decisions to make about what to wear. And it's also emotionally taxing, this desire of always wanting something, this desire of never liking my outfit, not feeling like I have the cool girl items, and instead of living my life outside of what I consume, I realize a lot of my time and energy is actually going to attend these things around me, fill this emotional void, fill this physical void even, and I'm losing effort and energy on things that really just don't matter. I don't have time to create, I don't have time to work on the projects I want to work on because the consumption around me is just constantly screaming every single day. I still feel plagued by how many things I have as a result of my past self's decision. And that's why mindful consumption in 2026 has to be my mantra, because I just don't have the energy and the time to be wasting on these things. For some people, it's going to bring them joy. Accumulating items, if you're genuinely getting joy from your items, that's totally fine. That falls under your umbrella of mindful consumption. But for me, the things that don't bring me joy, I need to eradicate out of my life. I live in a 10 by 10 room. There's only so much that fits in here. This is how big my head is. There's only so much that fits in here. The goal over time is to remove my identity from my purchases so that the desire to consume and the desire to want things becomes a lot more manageable. I'm obviously still gonna want things. I'm still gonna wanna buy things, but it's not gonna feel like this desperation, like this rush to the checkout line, this rush to the mall, even reaching to shop as a hobby or way to pass the time, and actually find a holistic version of myself that knows who I am outside of the things that I own. And to reiterate, this is not me judging whatsoever. This is just an invitation to adopt some of the practices of mindful consumption, I think all of us can take a page out of the mindful consumption book and incorporate that into our lives. Like, as people, as humans, like, especially in the Western world, we have too much stuff. And the main reason that we think we need as much stuff as we do is because of social media. Our time on social media, seeing hauls, reviews, products, all of these copious amounts of like product demonstration really gets to us. And through my journey of mindful consumption, I've also been working on how I consume media, because purchasing and buying isn't the only way that we overconsume. As we know, doom scrolling, brain rotting, sitting on our phones or whatever instruments of technology for hours and hours and hours on end is what feeds into this desire. Recently, I've been wanting to understand my social media addiction and where it comes from. And yes, I'm going to call it an addiction, because anything that you're going to do daily and you feel like you reach for and you're not even conscious for and helps you function, that's an addiction. That is an addiction. Obviously, I am a content creator and I am a Gen Z girl, so it's inevitable that I spend large amounts of time on social media, but it does not need to be to the level that it's currently at. The more time I spend on my phone, the longer I'm setting myself further in a comparison trap, the longer my wish list is getting, and the less amount of time I actually spend making a decision when it comes to purchasing something. And what's helped me actually understand the social media addiction is understanding the psychological aspects of this habit. When you understand like what it is that your brain is doing, why you feel so drawn to your phone, it's easier to kind of like undo some of these practices and detach and let go, because you're actually getting it from a like science perspective. On my TikTok account, I recently did a series throughout the month of December called Fixing My Doom Scrolling Addiction Before the End of 2025. So when I went on to Skillshare and I found this class, Social Media and Phone Addiction, Why You're So Addicted and How to Reclaim Your Focus, I knew we were about to lock in and actually get this done. I'm also excited to share that Skillshare is the sponsor of today's video and gave me the opportunity to actually take this class all the way through. So as much as we are starting the conversation about mindful consumption, phone habits, all these things here, it's awesome to supplement it with classes by actual professionals on these subjects and have so much more information than I do about all of these topics that we're interested in. Skillshare has creative classes taught by world-class creatives like professional illustrators, renowned graphic designers, and successful entrepreneurs. It's the best place to learn a creative skill or even pick up a new hobby. If you're looking to reconnect with your creativity and maybe avoiding brain rot, Skillshare is where humans come to learn from other humans. I know we love asking ChatGPT what's going on, but actually being able to have a teacher and another person who is actively going through this with you is so much more helpful, and I feel like actually makes the information stick. So when I'm on my phone and I've been on there for a really long time, I usually feel very, very guilty. And so taking this class, it was helpful to know that it's partially my fault, but also just the way that my brain is responding. The cycle that I'm going through when I'm addicted to my phone is a dopamine and cortisol cycle, which is actually how your brain is supposed to work and supposed to respond. Back in the early days of human, we needed this dopamine cortisol balance when we would go hunt our food. Obviously, we get the dopamine from the food that we ate and we just hunted and we're about to chow down on, but obviously the food's gonna go away. It's not gonna last forever. So we need that additional dopamine spike again and that desire to go out and look for more so that we can actually feed our bodies. So that worked when we're trying to survive and if this was like the caveman days. But now that cycle becomes abused a little bit because it happens to be about something that's not that important or that helpful at all. And again, it's not healthy because we don't realize it, but our phones scramble our memories. They reduce our cognitive function due to task switching, which I learned there's no such thing as multitasking. Your brain can only go back and forth from tasks, and that's what makes you so tired, and lead to feelings of inadequacy, loneliness, and confusion. This makes so much sense because it helps me actually understand the root of where all these things are coming from and knowing that I'm not alone in my social media brain rot. Usually I would create short-term solutions like buying something for that dopamine kick, adding something to my shopping cart, or taking a browse at the thrift store. But now I know that that's not going to satisfy my need. I actually need to curate long-form content. I need to get back into the books that I've checked out. I need to actually do things with my hands and be present for these memories. Leaving my phone out of meal times, out of times with my friends, and sometimes even leaving it in the car when I'm going on a walk. So if you want to take a class like I did, or one of the the hundreds of other classes that they offer. I'm also currently taking a Figma class because I want to learn product design. The first 500 people to scan this QR code or click the link in my bio will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. So in 2026, we'll all become more educated, academic weapons, and actually stand up to all the consumerism and consumption in our lives. So if you're still not totally convinced on this whole mindful consumption journey, I'm gonna share 5 reasons why I engage in mindful consumption and how I feel like it's actually helped relieve a lot of areas of my life. That way you can kind of see where you might insert into this narrative and how mindful consumption might help you even on a small scale. If this sounds like something that you're trying to become more disciplined in, I have a Notion template linked in my bio basically to help you have a conversation about your purchases, the way that you spend your money. It's not a budgeting template, but more of a workspace where you can actually see what it is that's going on in your shopping habits, a place where you can record your spending, a place where you can anticipate your upcoming spending. I also have another template for the new year called 2026 Stewardship, where we're going to be focusing more on how to actually handle the things that we already have. It's less about bringing more into our space and our mind, but working with the resources that we've already been given and are already right in front of us. So again, if that sounds like something you want to check out, click the link in my bio to download those templates. The number one thing is the decreased amount of stuff. The more stuff you have, the more time and effort goes into that item. It's not just picking up something from Home Goods and bringing it home. It's not that hour that you spent browsing. It's cleaning that item. It's finding a place for that item to go. When you don't want that item anymore, it's donating that item. It's selling that item. It's regifting that item. Granted, we might already have to do things for the items in our lives that we do want to enjoy and we do have in our presence, but why would I want to do that for a pair of shorts that I haven't worn in the last 2 years? Why would I want to do that for the extra Christmas themed blanket that I only bring out once a year? Even if I'm not currently looking at it or currently using it, it's still having to take space or shape somewhere in your vicinity. It's taking up room in the garage. It's taking up room in the living room. It's taking up room in your room. Something where it's not actually fulfilling a task and not as alleviating as you think it is. It brought you that joy in the moment when you took it home from the store, and now it sits in your room and it's an eyesore every time you have to move it out of the way to get to your dresser, to get to your desk. Then I'm dedicating a whole Saturday to decluttering, when that could be spent outside enjoying my time without having to go after all of my objects, because those are not the memories that I want to have. I don't want to have memories of Saturday cleaning and folding all my extra clothes when I could literally just be mindful about the clothes that I have and actually enjoying my time wearing the clothes instead of just like keeping track of all these random things that like I just don't even wear. Number 2, the obvious one, it's saving. So you're not going to get rich by saving. We already know that. Like pinching pennies and things isn't going to grow your wealth and make you have lasting generational wealth. But it's the habit that comes with being a mindful consumer that will. When you treat not buying something and saving that money, and I don't mean just like holding on to it, but actually like investing it somewhere or putting it towards something that actually is going to like appreciate in wealth, that is a form of self-care. One $100 shirt obviously is not going to be the difference between whether or not you're able to retire early, but maybe after dozens of $100 shirts, we can start having a different conversation. A lot of people tell themselves at the cashier, like, I deserve this. I work hard for my money. I've had a long week. I want a little treat. And yes, you do work hard for your money. You do deserve to care for yourself and treat yourself. But why can't we view saving as a way of treating ourselves? Saving creates self-trust, the idea that you're showing up for yourself 10 years from now. It's delayed gratification. Just because you save your money and you don't spend it doesn't mean that you're not investing in yourself. It quite literally means the opposite. You are investing in yourself because you're actually investing your money. I got this info from Vivian too, and she was saying that we need to start looking at our purchases by time. So if you're gonna buy an $100 shirt, how many hours of work did it take for you to buy that $100 shirt? If you work a minimum wage job, that might have been your whole day's paycheck. Is it worth however much it took for you to even earn the money to buy that item? And that's why I like to save. I'm not saving because I'm penny pinching. I'm not buying something because I just want to be stingy. It's because I actually want to respect myself. I want to show myself that I'm actually going to put my dollar towards something that I value and I think is going to generate a return on investment. And that doesn't necessarily have to be a monetary form of investment, but something that I feel like is actually going to add to my collection well. For example, I'm trying to build a wardrobe that's going to be more sustainable, meaning something that I'm going to wear for the long term. So yes, I'd rather spend more on like a cashmere sweater, even though it's more expensive. I don't want to be buying a bunch of $20 sweaters sweaters that are going to go out of style, are made of acrylic, are made of polyester, and actually aren't even going to like keep me warm or be good quality. Everyone has a different lifestyle, so you need to save in a way that you feel comfortable in. Like, I'm not going to go into budgeting, but that's like one of the number one budgeting kind of rhetorics, is it doesn't have to feel restrictive, because if it feels restrictive, then it's not like a budget that's appropriate for your lifestyle. I think that's what matters the most, is preserving your mental peace and shopping in a way where you don't feel guilty. Number 3, it also just takes so much mental space. Like, I'm looking at my closet right now and I can see a bunch of things at the top of the shelf, and I know I have to deal with that at some point. However, it's been a year and I'm still looking at all of these random things in my room, and I like just don't know what to do with it. I develop the sentimental attachment, and the longer you have something, the more you actually become sentimental about it. So it's easier just to get rid of it while you can, while you know that you don't want it. The biggest use of time is always talking yourself down from the self-confidence issues that arise. But I'm really not interested in having the reflection of myself be caught up in items that do not define me. And now you might be wondering, okay, how does self-confidence have to do with this? For me, it translates into like, okay, I have a piece of clothing that I don't wear because like I don't like how it looks on me. And then every time I look at that clothing and every time I pull it out or every time I try it on, I'm reminded that I don't like how I look in that. And then I have to have a conversation with myself to help amp myself up and do a lot of mental work to come down from whatever that low self-confidence moment is. If you detach your identity from stuff, you will have less conversations with yourselves about self-confidence that has to do with things that are arbitrary. Whether or not you have the latest purse or the latest bag is not a barometer of your coolness factor. Whether or not you have a aesthetic room, a monochromatic room, a boho girl room, that doesn't reflect who you are and your level of like importance or relevancy. But because we're so bombarded with information online and this desire to want things, we inherently start to feel like our confidence is reflected in something that it really isn't. Because your confidence needs to come from your personality, your character, and the fact that you are valued as a human being. And if someone is defining me based off of the items that I own, or like solely defining me based off of the items that I own, that sounds like someone else's problem. It doesn't sound like mine. Insecurity comes from the ways that we think we lack and we fall short in. And it's natural. It happens to all of us. Obviously, we're all insecure because we're humans. But if we could eliminate that aspect of our lives or diminish it more, it would be so much more freeing because we wouldn't be finding identity in something that we can't control. In Psychology of Money, there's a story that the author shares about when he was a valet driver, basically saying that he saw thousands and thousands of dollars poured into all of these luxury cars. People would come drop off their car, he'd get to test drive them. However, he never thought about who owned the car. He didn't associate the Lamborghini with the owner and then think, wow, the Lamborghini owner is so cool. He looked at the Lamborghini as a reflection of himself. He envisioned himself with the Lamborghini. He envisioned himself driving the Lamborghini. He envisioned him with the Lamborghini, which is proof that whatever you have doesn't impress somebody because they associate it with you anyway. Anytime someone sees something that they want, it automatically goes to how they can identify with that item as a reflection of themselves. I'm not looking at your Prada bag and solely being like, wow, she's so cool because she has that Prada bag. I'm thinking, wow, that Prada bag is so cool. What would I look like if I had that Prada bag? And the narrative slowly moves away from that person and we start thinking about it as ourselves. So I feel like that's good to know that whatever items you have, whatever you're stunning, like that's awesome, but it's not really aiding anyone's perception of you. Like maybe for a short fraction of time, but in reality, they're gonna make it about themselves and bring it back to their identity because that's what we all do. That's what we do as people. Don't waste your time accumulating all these things thinking that it's going to help people somehow identify you. Always gonna be a new bag. There's always gonna be a new trend every single year. It's obviously a whole industry to create trends and promote all of this commerce. So I already need to accept that I'm never going to be able to keep up with these things for the rest of my life. It's too many things, it's too many conversations happening, and the quicker that I can be less materialistic and less attached to the worth of all of these items, I feel like the more time I'm just going to have to think about other things and learn about the things that I actually want to learn. And like I said, it's not bad to have stuff. We need tools to aid our lives. It's bad to form an identity around stuff solely. Number 4 you have extra money for the things that you actually want to do. And you even have more of a budget to do spontaneous things that you didn't expect. You can build an emergency fund, you can learn to invest, you can start saving for a vacation. Or if your friend asks you to do something spontaneously in the middle of the week, you can actually do it and allocate a budget for that so that you don't have to miss out on opportunities. For example, my friend 2 weeks ago invited me to a DJ set very, very last minute. And thankfully, I was able to go because I've actually been saving money. And to me, this is how I would spend my money. Like an experience like that with my friend, getting to do something is way more valuable than an extra shirt or an extra dress or an extra pair of pants, which is like basically how much that would have cost. And maybe you might disagree. Maybe your habit is that you're doing things way too impulsively with your friends and saying yes to too many activities, and now that's skewing your budget. So maybe you need to cut down on some of these spontaneous impulsive activities and actually just save it for one with your friend and then save that budget for something else. I don't know. It's just an example of how you can change your thinking and how you can actually create a framework for your shopping and your spending that actually suits you and doesn't leave you feeling guilty. And number 5, the reason that I like to mindfully consume or want to grow in it is because I want to be more generous. Saving money does no good if you cannot have the right attitude behind your money. Money is such a slippery slope. It leads to so many different problems in our world, as we know. Corruption, arguments, relationships splitting up. A lot of it comes back to the principle of money and the attitude that we have behind it. So I would hate to let my character drift because of something as silly as money. Money is a tool. It's not your identity. And I think as a society, it's always good to be generous. And this isn't to toot my own horn. This is just because I simply want to get better at doing it. I want to be able to treat my friends. I want to have a budget that can actually encourage someone, that can spot somebody. And this isn't for good karma or anything like that, or because I'm trying to get brownie points. It's simply because I never get buyer's remorse from being generous. It's alleviating and makes me thankful that I have enough for not only myself, but for somebody else as well. This month, I signed up for a charitable 5K, and it's awesome because I love to run. I love to mindfully consume, and an event that allows me to do that and actually be generous for literally no reason is the perfect way to start the beginning of this year. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm getting to do it with my friends, and the money is actually going to a good cause. And I don't know, it just feels exciting. It adds more opportunity and is something I want to open myself up to. I'm also running the LA Marathon in March with a charity, and just like really looking forward to seeing how generosity can just do better for me in my heart and in my character overall. And when I have a conversation like this, it really puts into perspective, like, how much do I need another pair of shoes? Like, how much do I need another matcha this week when there's so many other people out there with real needs that I could easily support? To conclude this video, I'm not saying that you have to be exactly like me or shaming anybody who maybe has some of these habits. I simply just wanted to extend kind of like what's on my mind and open the conversation more this year to explore what it would look like just to diminish the amount that is coming into my life and focusing more on what I can create rather than what I can consume. If this sounds like something you want to work on, then feel free to subscribe to my channel and like this video so I know that you're interested in this content. There are so many resources out there and so many people that are also opening up this conversation, which is just great because I think it makes so much sense. I love reading all of your comments and just seeing how other people are trying to grow in this as well and what that looks like in your lives. Again, if you want to find a course on Skillshare that aligns with this or can maybe help you grow in some of those things, please quickly go ahead and click that link in my bio so that you can be able to get your first 1 month free trial. And with that, that is the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching and just being even open to a conversation like this. If your goal is to also mindfully consume this year or just like become more aware of your spending habits, then let me know in the comments by sharing what it is that you're working on. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in my next one. Goodbye.